Today I'm speaking with Brooke Kuhlmann, a bootstrapped engineer, entrepreneur, and software consultant, a prolific open source maintainer, and a frequent conference speaker. He'll be delivering his talk, Terminus, a Hanami and HTMX web application for e-ink devices at Blue Ridge Ruby this spring. Brooke, thanks for making some time to talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm also happy just to be in Blue Ridge and hanging out in your neck of the woods. Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be a beautiful time of year. So much to do. So I think people are going to have a blast.
Oh.
So I briefly met you at RailsConf this past summer when we were both sitting in the same row about to give lightning talks, and you were introducing Terminus there. Can you describe what Terminus is?
Yeah. So Terminus is, it's our BYOS implementation. Basically, it's short for Build Your Own Server. And Terminus is our flagship implementation for that. We have actually several other BYOS implementations built on different languages, different stacks, but Terminus is kind of the sort of flagship there. The other key thing about it that's really important is it's open source, which I absolutely love. It's, like you said in the beginning, right? Like I do so many open source projects, and so it's really nice to be able to basically earn a living doing open source work. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really proud of that. But also because it is open source, it means it's out there free. You guys can grab it now. You can make use of it, put it to use. You could deploy it on your own network, put it in the cloud. It's all yours. So that's really nice.
Is it only for terminal devices, or is it for any kind of e-ink device?
That's a good question. It's specifically designed for our terminal devices, but actually we do support we do support any, most devices, it depends. We're trying to get some of our firmware working on other devices, but like for instance, this Xenic right here, X4, this is actually like a PDF reader. It's quite nice, but you can flash it. You can flash this with our firmware, and then it has a magnetic back, so you can just put this on your fridge or whatever, and then you can get Terminus displays running on this as well. So, and these are all ESP32 devices. It's the same thing for our hardware here too. So like I have our terminal device here.
Nice.
And that's ESP32 based as well.
What is ESP32?
ESP32, this I don't know as well because I'm not on the hardware side, but it's basically like a really low power hardware and framework for e-ink displays.
Okay.
It's really, really popular because there's so many, especially in China, there's so many different devices that are built on that platform that allow you to have a low power way in which to render e-ink, or sorry, I should say e-paper really is how we term it. Displays. Yeah.
Cool.
Because it's private and secure, you get to own your own data. So the Terminus is on your network, the device is on your network is your own, the data is your own, so that's really attractive. And then finally, it's something that Ryan, our founder, wrote, which is the Unbreakable Pledge.
Yeah.
And I just find this, it really jives with just who I am as a person as well. And the idea behind that is being able to say like, hey, if we ever become insolvent, we'll open source our entire core stack as well. So just basically give it all out for free.
That's cool.
And the reason that is because these devices, they're basically IoT devices, Internet of Things devices. And a lot of times when companies go out, you're left with these devices and they end up as waste and junk.
Yeah.
And so this is a nice way to be like, hey, they don't have to be junk. You can let these live in perpetuity, right?
Yeah.
As long as you have access. So, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, feel better about that than maybe a Kindle that like you might, might require a subscription at some point, or you can't use it or some way. There's always, it sounds like it's hackable. You've got options in the future for it. So that gives it a longer life. That's cool.
Yeah.
So the typical Ruby stack might be something like Rails and React or Hotwire. When you were first developing Terminus, what led you to the choice of Hanami and HTMX?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a really great question, but I got to try to see if I can get this condensed because there's actually a long story here, but if I can summarize it, let me see if I can summarize this. So, look, I've been doing Ruby and Rails for like 20 years. And, the natural thing that people go into with Ruby is, unfortunately, you just get kind of thrown into Rails. Like, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, along that way, you're constantly reading books like the Pickaxe book, Sandy Metz's Pooter book.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Russell? No, the guy who wrote Eloquent
Russ
Ruby.
Olson?
I can't. Yes, thank you. Wonderful book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that, especially Sandy's book, she emphasizes composition really heavily, and that was kind of the aha moment in object-oriented design for me, is that. Oh, yes. I actually want to be on the composition side. I want to be composing my objects, which is dependency inversion, the D in solid design. And also the S, single responsibility principle. Your objects should be one thing, do it really well, makes it very easy to read, maintain, and test. And once you break away from inheritance then, so that's the two sides of the coin here. You've got inheritance, which is really heavy on the Rails stack, and then you've got composition, which leads to really good object-oriented design, and also functional programming, by the way, because now you can have functional objects that, as long as they implement the call interface, you can mix them with lambdas, procs, and so forth. And so a whole world of wonderful things in Ruby open up at that point. So in the course of working with Rails then, right, and reading these books and getting into that, I remember seeing Peter Solnicka, if I'm pronouncing his name properly, really, really big in the Ruby community about 10 years ago. He's kind of the founder of DryRB in a way. Like he was really the genesis behind that. And so I got into DryRB.
Okay.
And that also opened my mind because I was like, wait, hold on. This is a way better way to write Ruby, like by a long shot. And so I got really heavy into DryRB. Then DryRB kind of led to Hanami because Hanami is built on top of the DryRB stack.
Okay, got it.
And so, one thing leads to another, this whole waterfall effect. And I've been writing about this, doing talks, training, teaching, consulting on this. Like everything's wrapped around this entire ecosystem for me. And so that's where I started to break away from the Rails stack and like the React and all that. Like I just want a simpler way to write very, very powerful applications that are well architected, well built, easy to understand, easy to read, easy to write, easy to test. And that kind of led me down the Hanami stack. So I'd been doing that for quite a while. And then when this opportunity came along where I could build this BYOS implementation for terminal, I'm like, whoa, I really want to use Hanami for this because this is a great chance to really show the Ruby community that, like, yes, you can do amazing things and it doesn't have to be Rails. And so that kind of led me down that path. And that's why I chose these tech stack is to use the composition, functional programming, Hanami is the shell, and then HTMX on top of that, because it's just a really wonderfully written library that is a JavaScript library, but that's the only JavaScript you usually need.
Okay.
You just add that in, and then you're just sending HTML fragments over the wire, which is kind of more on the hot wire-ish side of the fence in Rails. And so once you can do that, now you're just writing HTML all the time, which is a wonderful place to be because that HTML by default is the hypermedia aspect of RESTful design. And so by being able to declare your behavior in your HTML, you can just send those fragments over. They'll slip into your DOM. Render the UI, maybe make additional calls, totally fine. But you're just getting these fragments back and forth. And I just really love that. And especially with modern browsers, they've come so far that I don't have to write a lot of JavaScript anymore because it's all there in the browser itself. CSS has come a long way. I don't have to write Sass anymore. Granted, there's still some more things we need in the CSS side, but it's really getting there. And
it really has,
and so you put all that together, and now you have something really, truly magical that is less lines of code, easier to understand, and doesn't have any of the heavy bloat that you have on that whole kind of React Rails side of the fence. So a little bit of a long-winded answer, but that's kind of the journey.
I love it. For folks whose day jobs involve Rails, how can learning Hanami benefit them?
So this is great because this kind of ties into my previous answer, right? Which is it'll open you up so that you really start to think really honestly about good object-oriented design. And again, I want to emphasize, I know I sound like maybe a little bit of a old record here, but the fact that you can do, you can think of objects and think of composition, right? And compose these objects that have just become like little Lego blocks. And once you have those little Lego blocks that do one thing really well, it's really easy to mix and match, compose them in different ways. Like, you know, sky's the limit on what you can do there. And that's a wonderful place to be in versus like on the Rails side where it gets really heavy with inheritance.
Yeah.
And you got to be very careful. If you go down the inheritance path, you don't, what is it? The Liskov substitution principle in solid design.
Yeah.
You don't want your subclasses breaking the contract and behavior of your superclasses. And I see this happen with people a lot.
Yep.
Where they're trying to tack on too much behavior to your subclasses, and it's breaking it's just completely destroying the contract. And with composition, you can have all your dependencies, and all they have to do is just send messages to each other. You're injecting them, you're swapping them out with spies, makes them really easy to test. You can do really more advanced things like have dependency injection containers where you can register all of them, and then you can auto inject them. And then swap them out later because they're just keyword arguments. I'm sort of waving my hands here. I know it's sort of unfair because it's better if I can show you on paper, like, whoa, look at this, versus me waving my hands here. But when you go down that route, it really makes you a stronger Ruby engineer. And then the other thing to layer on top of that is the functional aspect. So I kind of call this blended Ruby, where you blend and marry object-oriented with functional programming.
Yeah.
And when you do that, I really think that's the hidden magic that people don't get a chance to unlock in Ruby. And when you do that, where you have your objects, they're easily composable, then they're functional, because as long as your class or your object has the call method, the interface there, you can swap those out easily with procs, lambdas, even unattached methods, because you can make them callable as well. They can be they can adhere to to-proc conversion, and so you can mix and match all four of those object types really easily, and then you can turn that into functional pipeline, fault-tolerant pipeline programming. Because if you add in monads, then you have something that's either a success or failure through that entire pipeline. And if something fails, it just chunks all the way through, skips all the other steps because it's a failure.
Right.
And if it's a success, it'll constantly go through, and then it pops out at the end.
Yeah.
And so you don't have any of this conditional logic. It's just a really nice pipeline, and really, really yields to robust Ruby applications.
That is a thing that you don't see very often in Rails apps, like pipelines. But when you build one, it feels so much better than the way you might think to do it in just like a straight regular vanilla Rails app or something, without having seen anything else. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
So really, like, hearing about Hanami and seeing the patterns there might inform people like on other things that could bring back to Rails, or maybe it ruins them on Rails for good, and they just have to leave and go to Hanami and find the two other Hanami jobs out there on the market.
Yes. Yeah. Well, but your first point is really apt, because if you spend time in Hanami, and granted, maybe you can't bring it into your job and get paid for it. I really hope you can, and I really hope like this talk and the stuff I'm doing gives people the motivation to do this and add this to their work. But let's say that you can't. I've been in several situations where I've consulted, and I basically kind of ripped out the internals of Rails. I kept Rails as a shell because, hey, the business wouldn't budge. But there's nothing stopping you from bringing these really strong designs. Again, this is just solid design. Bringing that into Rails, cleaning it up, and all you have to do is you're just dealing with basic Ruby objects that are just well architected at that point, and then you can easily mix and match those in Rails just as easily as if you were in a pure Hanami stack. So there's nothing stopping you from doing that, which is the beauty of this. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, I'm intrigued. So you have an extensive personal website with a lot of your writing, but I was most struck when I was looking through it the other day by your engineer's oath, where you affirm the values and morals you intend to uphold in your work.
How has committing to a professional oath affected you and your work?
Yeah, that's a that's a great question because that oath, I really do live by it. There's days where I just have to go read it again and again just to like not lose my sort of moral ethical compass, so to speak, right? And I just think we should have that in the industry. That's why I put it on my site. I try to do it as like when I hire others, right? To talk through those and make sure that they're on the same page in terms of the ethical quality and all the values that should make us really, that should just give us that professional edge as engineers. Because other professions have it, right? Like the Hippocratic Oath for doctors and healthcare. Yeah, and then there's the MBA oath for people in business. And, I've never seen anybody really emphasize this much in the engineering side of things. And I just really think we should have something like this. So I find it to be very important. It's very much, pretty much exactly who I am as a person, is trying to live by those qualities of focusing on customer, protecting their data, being ethical, being secure, being a joy to work with and share with others, as well as learn from others when I don't understand things, right? Just being there to ask and be like, hey, you school me on this, right? Like, I'm not always the expert in things, so you teach me. And that's a great place to be. And then also to leave a legacy behind that hopefully is something that others can be inspired by and want to live up to and also carry that torch forward. But there is kind of a negative side to this, though, the other side of your question that you're asking here, which is it's been hard, right? Like to live this kind of life and really live and believe this. It does mean that sometimes, you're working in companies or contracts or customers that you're working with, and they don't have this at all. And so when you try to gently explain like why security matters or why these ethics matters, you can find yourself on the wrong side of on the stick. And that sucks. And I've lost work because of that. But people have asked me in the past, it's like, well, you could have just kept your mouth closed and not fought for this, right? And
I think that's what most people would do. Like that's without taking an oath, without making it explicit, which most people don't. They would probably either go along or quietly move away. But it sounds like you don't, and you haven't given yourself the opportunity. You haven't given yourself that out. Yeah. And so, you're absolutely right. Like it's easy. If you dial this down to its essence, it's do you do the right things when nobody else is looking? That's really what this is, right? And I can't go to sleep at night knowing that if I broke the trust of whoever I'm working with, right, and I did the wrong thing, or I was shady, I stole money, or I don't know, took proprietary code for some nefarious use or something, right? Like I can't sleep. That's just not my character. But some people, they will look the other way. But that's just not me. And so I've lost work because of that. But I would do it all over again in a heartbeat, right? Because even though it sucked and it put me in a bad space for me and my family, I can go to sleep at night knowing that I did the right thing, and that's what keeps me going, I guess. Yeah. I love that. I really like that. I feel like I'd like to see more of that in the community. It makes me think like, what should I uphold and affirm like that? I think it's really important. So thanks. Last question. Do you have any favorite uses of terminal device around your house?
So this one's a tough one too, because I am so busy working on Terminus. I was just complaining to my wife the other day. I was like, damn it, I'm having so much fun getting all these features out for Terminus. I'm not actually having the free time to be like, I just want to goof around, right?
Right.
But I'm getting closer. So to answer your question, there's actually kind of three parts to this. The first part is I generally use it for like motivational quotes, really into like Zen Buddhism. So I like having those show up. And, it's just a clean screen. It just kind of pops up and it's just, I needed that, right? I know we're really popular in the weather and calendar space. People just love to throw that stuff on there.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
I don't want that there. I just want clean quotes or maybe some really beautiful art. I find that to be really nice. But the other two pieces of this is, and I have some toys, some props here for you.
Okay.
So here's Terminus running on a Raspberry Pi. It's got the little logo there. This has been 3D printed by my mentor and old colleague. He's retired now, friend. Brant Herbert did this. He's a wonderful guy. So Brant, if you're watching this, thank you. But you'll see that I have the Pi here, and that's got Terminus installed on it. And then I have these sensors here. They're using like these quick cables here to connect into these sensors here.
Okay.
And these are made by SparkFun. They're just basically kind of plug and play. You just plug them in. And what's happening here is, this is new, by the way, but it's pulling sensor data in real time. And so I'm servicing that within Terminus. So then you can basically start to have your Terminus display basically use sensor information. You can show CO2 readings, your temperature, your pressure, motion detection.
Yeah.
All that stuff can show up now on your display. So I'm really excited about this because I want to build some displays for this and get basically turn my my e-ink display here so it has quadrants then for all that sensor information, and just do really cool things where I can get this real-time information in the house.
That's cool. Nice.
So that's one aspect I'm excited about. And then the next thing I'm really excited about is my wife and I, we do a lot of home cooking. She's the better cook than I am, so I have to give kudos to her. But the one thing that we've been discussing is getting a bigger, because we have new models coming out that are bigger than what I was just showing.
Okay, yeah.
And being able to mount that in the kitchen so that we can basically meal plan. Because just like software engineering, right? You don't want to break the flow when you're having that wonderful flow state and working on a hard problem and solving it. Well, it's the same thing with cooking. You want to be able to have all your ingredients, your steps to create, and then lay all that out and then just have the joy of cooking.
Yeah.
And so being able to have that display and then just refresh, like, hey, here's the morning menu, here's the lunch menu, here's the evening menu. And then I think e-ink is a really good, e-paper is a really good space for something like that to solve that kind of problem. So
that makes sense. I'm like, whenever I have to make homemade taco seasoning, I'm making tacos, and then I've got to pull up some site on my phone, and there's multiple ads on top, and then my phone's going back to sleep, so I'm pulling back up, how many tablespoons of or how many teaspoons of this? So frustrating. Yeah. So having something like that in the kitchen would definitely be nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of the space. Yeah.
I love it. Well, we're excited to see your talk. It sounds like you're going to be bringing some terminal devices as well, so people will get to see those. Awesome.
Yes.
Really looking forward to it. Brooke, thanks. We'll see you here April 30th.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be involved in this, and I can't wait to hang out with you and everyone else. So
Sweet.
yeah,
Same here.
I'm really pumped. Yeah.
Thanks.